You know, when I first came to Japan, the phone lines in areas like this kind of bothered me. I thought they kind of detracted from the scenery, but I've been here so long, kind of look past them. I don't even notice the phone lines. And for me, this is pretty with all the rice fields, mountains. This is where Bob and Gigi live. You can see Uncle Daisuke down there washing his car. The building to the right is for rice farming equipment, which Gigi does. He is a retired fire chief and hits the rice farming pretty hard these days. It's kind of like his hobby. Okay, so where would you go in rural Japan if you needed to get your hands on a Rolex? That's the question. Assuming you don't have access to public transport, how could I get a Rolex on my wrist if I was stuck in a place like this? Well, I'm going to the one place where I think I can find one. And it's not going to be an AD, of course. It's going to be a place called Book Off, which sells used books, used musical equipment, and used clothes and jewelry and watches too. And I've seen Rolex there. And so we're going to walk there. It's about 2.2 kilometers away. And we'll see if I was stuck in Itoshima, what kind of Rolex I'd have to deal with. So the official accuracy report of this Explorer 2 is +6 a day. I checked it at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon and today at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's +6 on the dot, which is still within COSC standards, barely. Nothing to brag about, but certainly acceptable. This is the least accurate of my Rolexes, and when I got it back from the AD overhaul, it was running about +4, and I was okay with that. I probably shouldn't have been okay with that, but I was. When I got back the GMT Master 2, it was running about the same, and I took it back, and they tweaked it, and now it's running +1 every couple days. So next time I have this overhauled, I'm gonna let them know beforehand that I expect +1 every couple days. I think, you know, they've got computers and high-tech equipment. They can make it happen. I think it's a good idea to let them know before they work on it. I think waiting and complaining after the fact is probably not a good idea, but letting them know beforehand that you expect paramount accuracy is a good idea, and that's what I'm going to do next time I have this overhauled, which is not going to be anytime soon. I'm not going to have this overhauled over +6 a day. If anything, I do want to have the seals checked. I feel like the seals are fine, but it just helps me enjoy it a little bit more when I take it in pools and swimming, and I do take this swimming. So yeah, you know, I have mixed feelings about getting it tested just you know, for its depth rating, because it's $200. They test it, but I think all you get is just a sort of an assurance that at this point in time it's waterproof up to 100 meters. But I don't think there's any guarantee on the future, meaning if something happens a week down the road and water gets in it, it's like, well, at that point in time, you know, it was fine. I think, I'm not sure, I don't think there's any guarantee. So, which is kind of weird. If you get an overhaul, which is like $500 more, then you get basically a 2-year guarantee on that. So if water does get into it, you've got recourse. So, yeah, that's a tough one. Do you just say, to hell with it, it's a Rolex, and go with it in the pool? You'd probably be okay. I mean, when I got this watch, I really didn't know the service history, and off to the onsens I went, and it was fine. And man, this thing would be fine taking it in water 2-3 years down the road. It's just that peace of mind, right? Anyway, what would you guys do in that case? All right, so behind me is Maibadu Station, and my wife grew up in Maibadu City, and she's a Maibadu girl. And Maibadu is on the island of Kyushu in an area called Itoshima, and it's a cute little town. It's a cute city. It's a small city. Very good vibe here, pretty and very friendly, and it's a good place to live, good place to raise a family. My older daughter, I raised her until she was 3 here, and my younger daughter until she was about 1, and was born in Maibadu City, the younger one. And I would show you some buildings and whatnot, but and maybe I will. But as far as businesses go, it's the 31st of December, so many things are closed except where we're going. Book off is open 365 days a year. So let's head there. All right, Maibadu even has a porno store. Now, what this is, the dollhouse, is actually a hostess club. Secret lovers as well. And I've been there one time. Interesting, you see that heart over the girl's face. Likely she stopped working there, and I was like, get my face off that sign. Over here, this is the porno shop. Okay, so there are places to drink straight ahead down this road, some hostess type clubs. Okay, so this place behind me, I've been to it one time. I went drinking, and if I remember correctly, it was something like 3,000 yen for an hour and like a set amount of beers, like 3 or 4 beers, or you could do all you can drink whiskey. And I remember I chose the beers, finished them, and thought, man, I wish I had chosen the whiskey. Got totally ripped, and that's when I went to that hostess bar, Secret Lovers, that I just showed you, and drank more there. And I came back to this one, and I went into the wrong door and up a flight of stairs, and there was like an apartment, and I knocked on the door, and it opened, and it was full of kids. There must have been like 20 kids, and like an older grandmother type caretaker. And I realized that all the hostesses that were working in the place behind me, which I think all of them were from the Philippines, their kids were up there while they worked. And it was just sort of this unveiling of this ugly sort of reality of what these kids have to go through while their moms work. I mean, they weren't mistreated. They looked like they were having a fine time, but it was just a room full of kids at night while their moms were serving drinks downstairs. It was just weird. It was just that's not what you want to see. It destroyed the illusion, to say the least. Random El Camino. All right, so this shop right here is where you go if you want to sell one of your pieces. I don't think you're going to get very much for it. They'll probably rip you off. But you can see that's Pepsi up there with a Swiss only dial and a Submariner date. That looks like a ceramic one. It's a public bus. Another one of these shops where you can sell your stuff. Now this is new. I don't think it was around when I was living here. What do we see here? This is Steel Daytona. And right here, you got the steel Daytona right in the middle, the ceramic, solid gold president, and Frank Mueller, which used to be really popular here in Japan. Boy, talk about a soft brand. And a Roger Dubois. No clue what that is. Right, and here we are. All right, so some acoustic guitars, some electric guitars, and this is where cheap watches go to either die or get purchased and get a new life. Virtually all of these, including this Invicta, are quartz watches. In fact, I don't think a single one of these watches is an automatic. Some huge Nixon watches there. Seiko's on the left. I should have taken a closer look at those. G-Shocks. And just more, well, you know what Archie would call these. And I'd have to agree. Now right here, this kind of caught my eye. It was a sub-esque looking Casio. Small, that was probably 36 millimeters. And, you know, it's a date sub, I guess. Whoa, now that's a date sub. All right, we'll look at this in detail in a minute. You can see the price tag right there. That big price is without tax, so it's not cheap, but it's a fantastic piece. We'll see it in a minute. But this is probably a, what do you call it, sapphire sandwich, man on the moon, a Omega DeVille coaxial, and a tag. I've never heard of this brand here, but it's got a pretty fancy box. I think somebody lost money on that. I might have to Google that one. All right, so a DeVille for $600. That, boy, I wouldn't pay $600 for that. All right, a 36 millimeter Tudor dive watch. I'd go 40 millimeter, but I'd never touch a 36 millimeter. I think it kind of looks like a female's watch to me. All right, a quartz tag, 700 USD. That's an Astron. It's got a kind of a neat dial, a mother of pearl dial. I'm not really into watches like this, but you know, in terms of horology, they are advanced and well, they keep perfect time. Casio Oceanus. I think these usually run retail north of $2,000, so yeah, cheaper. Another Astron. Yeah, they just don't turn me on. I'm a mechanical guy. And I love the brand name of this, Out of Order. I mean, who chose that name? Kind of expensive for such a crappy watch, but hey, this isn't a crappy watch. All right, so this is a 16610 pre-ceramic date sub, and you can see that the Rehalt has the crown and the Rolex around it. It's got a random serial number. It's been serviced, but it's never had an overhaul, but it has been polished, of course. I think it comes with solid inlinks, as you can see, and box, not sure about the papers. Now, I think they started doing the random serial numbers in 2011, but according to my research, the last pre-ceramic 16610 was in 2010, so I don't think they made this model for long. I think this is a collector's item right here. You know, it's got a price tag, 10 grand on it, but it's a nice date sub to have for sure. Look at that. Look at that Rehalt. Possibly worth the price. All right, so if you're stuck in my body and you've got 10,000 USD, I think you can do okay. Now, you won't have much choice, but that was a pretty cool piece. Now, when I was looking at that piece, something momentous happened. A gentleman walked in, and I looked down on his wrist, and he had a Rolex watch. And what did he have? he had this. He had a BLNR, and this was the first BLNR I've seen in the wild. And I inquired about his watch, and he reached down like he was going to take it off. And I said, no, that's okay. I'll just take a picture of it. We talked watches for a little bit, and I asked him if he got it at an AD, and he kind of chuckled and said, you can't. He got it on the gray market. He paid, according to him, about $1,000 more than what you would get one at an AD for. So I think he did pretty well. If you guys remember the prices yesterday, they were $3 or $4 grand more than what you would pay at an AD if you could find one. He was at it for about a year and a half, and as you can see, he had the GMT hand set to the same as the local hand, which is common here. That's one thing. Whenever I see a GMT watch, I always like to see what they have the GMT hand set to. And often it's just a sort of a backup of the local time. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed watch shopping in my Badu. Take care. Thanks for watching, and Happy New Year.